You just got wrecked.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Monday. That's right, back on the grind. However, not a bad Monday. Bitcoin is up 3.5%. You're seeing some of the altcoins doing quite well. Ethereum 6%, XRP 9%. So it seems like it's a very nice day in the markets. In fact, we had a little bit of an interesting morning. You could see we dipped all the way down to about $7,686 and instantly rebounded back up to $8,269. So that is the situation, and we are going to be talking about what is going on with Bitcoin, what is happening with this 200 daily moving average. Are we actually going to have a recovery, or should we be expecting some lower lows in the medium to short term? Okay, that is definitely what we're going to talk about today. And if that sounds good to you, well, you know what to do. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, well, we do this every single day, and as you guys know, today is the Ledger Nano S giveaway. That'll be at the end of the video if you're interested, but if you missed out on this one, it's okay. You could drop a comment on literally any video throughout the course of the week, and you are eligible. Now, let me give this a quick refresh live. I noticed the Bitcoin dominance started kind of going up a little bit this morning. We're at 67.5%. You can see it is a pretty nice green day. Having a look at some of these altcoins, you have Bitcoin Diamond up 13%, Cosmos, Tron, Dogecoin, XRP Energy, Kyber Network, and Holo all doing quite well today. Fear and Greed sitting around 27, so take that with a grain of salt. But we are seeing all right volume. You know, I'd like to still see a little bit more for a Monday, but, you know, it still is a little bit uncertain time. So 500 million, we will take it. Having a look right here, though, you do notice Bitcoin dominance still struggling around that 70% on trading view. However, this is what I wanted to point out. We are still underneath this 200 daily moving average. You can see right here, we've been supported by this downtrend. We've been wicking to it. Actually, we wicked to it twice, but the situation moving forward essentially is that we cannot get above it. And we also notice that on the 4-hour, we keep closing below this $8,195 level. So what does this mean in the short term? Well, you remember this tweet we were talking about the other day when Josh Rager was essentially comparing this to the 75% pullback that was 89 days that we had in 2013. Although after that, we did have a 1,600% run up. So the question is, 91 days, only a 42% pullback. Do we still have lower to go, or was that it? Well, you know what, guys? Instead of boring you with me talking all day, why don't we ask the man himself? All right, guys, so today we have Josh Rager finally on the channel. It is about time. Much requested. Pleasure to have you here today. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, K-Dub. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. So just kind of real quick, so you came from essentially a traditional background and you got into crypto. What is it like trading crypto? Is it similar? Is it different? I know it's a lot faster and more hectic.
Yeah, no, it's a lot better. I think even going back to traditional stocks right now and equities, it's really slow compared to crypto. And again, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I think the saying is 1 week in crypto is like 1 year in traditional finance, and so it's just so volatile. And I love Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin, I'm just bullish on it. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but I do enjoy the Bitcoin chart. I do enjoy trading, perpetual swaps, Bybit. I know, you talk about Bybit. I like Bybit.
I like Bybit too. I mean, I've had no issues with it. Obviously, people need to be safe out there, using crazy high leverage. I don't even know why they offer leverage that high. I think that's just completely irresponsible. I think it's just a gimmick personally, but is there. So guys, that is a thing for sure. Be safe with that. But I did want to talk about, so you do like Bitcoin. You're not like, because some guys you talk to, they're like, I just trade Bitcoin and as soon as I get my cash, I just cash out. I don't care about it. Like, are you like a long-term believer in Bitcoin?
No, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I mean, I actually got in. I'm one of the lucky ones that got in around 3,200 at this bottom. And then too, I bought some Bitcoin prior to the euphoric run to 20K. So I ended up buying my first Bitcoin between 1,500 to 2K. So I didn't get in there super early. Yeah. Just kind of my belief as far as that goes is that banks are corrupt. And so I think we need to level the playing field. And I think Bitcoin does that. Overall, I'm pretty bullish on the asset fundamentally as well, not just traditional. I mean, not just as far as technical analysis.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you as well. And also, I bought my first at 2.2, so I wish I bought more. Had I known hindsight what this thing was going to do. But so, okay, today, I think the reason why we really had to get you on the channel today is because you had a tweet that you put out, and you were essentially saying that, you had a previous situation where we had a 75% pullback. That's pretty incredible. Considering, we had an 84% pullback down to the 3K level. Now you're saying a 75% from what we just did, because I have seen, actually, if you look at the tops of the all-time highs down to where the reaccumulation starts after the expansion stage, because they have those levels. If you don't know, I have it on my channel, but essentially those were 75% pullbacks, but you're saying now. So I was wondering if we could just kind of start there and maybe pull up some
yeah, we can do that.
Where are you getting this from? So
yeah, I can totally share my screen as well too. Is that fine?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. Let's dive in.
Okay, so if you guys can see this just fine. And so I did make this chart the other day, right? And so a lot of people were probably asking about, okay, well, what do I mean about this? And so I actually went on to talk about what I meant by this chart is that I don't really want people to worry as far as this 40% pullback. No, do I think that we just bounce right here and go back up and just run back up to all-time highs? I don't. But what I was saying is back in 2013, we actually had a 75% pullback. A lot of people want to say that was a bear market. Okay, well, it only lasted like 3 months, right? So, I mean, really, is that really a bear market? That was a quick pullback, if anything. 75% actually pulled back more than that before. If you see to the left, it was actually 80% pullback. Okay, but 75% pullback, and look what happened within months later. I think 6 months later, we went up to new all-time highs. And I don't think in 6 months we're going to hit new all-time highs, but if we can hit 75% pullback and then hit new all-time highs and it run up that far, I think that with Bitcoin being as illiquid as it is, that it can bounce back quite easily. And what do I mean by being it's not liquid, right? Because everybody's like, well, altcoins aren't liquid. Bitcoin's totally liquid, not compared to traditional, stocks and equities. When it comes to Bitcoin, we have less than 18 million, right? So less than 18 million, 3 to 4 million are lost forever. I think that's like the guesstimation. And how many people are hodlers, right? I mean, I think it's statistically like 50%. So, I mean, really, we've got less than 10 million Bitcoin that are being traded on the open market. And how much is that even actually real, right? Because a lot of these exchanges have fake volume, have fake as far as the Bitcoin.
Right. If you go on-chain FX, it's like a 18x higher reported amount on like CoinMarketCap compared to It's totally crazy, the numbers.
Yeah, so it's totally illiquid for the fact that there's not a lot. The books are thin. And so if a big player wanted to step in, of course, they can make it happen to where they push the price up. And I don't think it's going to happen because we know that banks, JP Morgan, are trying to buy as much as they can. Again, trying to be anti-bank, right? And think they there's always big players who control the market. So they're trying to
do believe that these guys are hoarding it in the background?
I think they're trying to get in. I think, the thing about Bitcoin is that, you've got Satoshi who holds a ton of Bitcoin in the wallet and it's never been moved. You've got a lot of people who got in super early. You think of like Crypto Cobain on Twitter, right? Like the guy's got a ton of Bitcoin and he's a millionaire because he bought in when it was super cheap. There's a lot of people who bought in really early. And so these normal guys are holding it. And so some of these guys are never going to get rid of it. But I think eventually as the halving happens over time and supply gets more scarce, I mean, naturally price is going to run up and people are going to want to sell. They're going to want to try to trade their Bitcoin for fiat and US dollars because why? You can't buy a house with Bitcoin right now, right? You can't buy a car with Bitcoin. You might be able to, but it's really difficult. So we use fiat for everyday currency. And so naturally you want to be able to use that because you can be Bitcoin rich, but not necessarily fiat rich, right? So a lot of these guys were Bitcoin rich at 20K, but they were, quote, not as rich when it hit 3K. So I think that naturally people are going to want to cash out. And when they cash out, I do think that over time, a lot of these big players, institutions, et cetera, are going to be able to accumulate this and drive up the price. And I'm one of those guys. Yeah, I think Bitcoin can hit $1 million, 10 million one day. But at that matter, we're going to be looking at Satoshis, right? I mean, people are going to be trading 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. They're going to be using that to pay for stuff. And so yeah, So overall, I think that the books are thin. I think that it can bounce, but I'm happy to go ahead and just kind of talk about what I think is going to happen in the short time.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I mean, I think that's why everyone is here, because we are in this kind of sort of just range we've been in now ever since we had that drop. And it's sort of like that uncertainty, you know, we're sitting below the 200 daily moving average. That's a big thing people are talking about. So
right.
Just curious what you're looking at.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, if people haven't seen, I think you talked about it on your show, is that typically when you hit underneath the 200-day moving average, that is kind of a signal for a bear market, right? So people are freaking out here. But again, that's why I'm not worried, because Bitcoin, the books are so thin and so volatile that anything can happen. I don't think it's just going to bounce right here. But I do think that I do have hope that if it does start to go down, that it's gonna hold at a specific point. And of course, as you look here, right, Bitcoin went underneath the 200 right there, under right here. Even at that 75% pullback, it even basically hit the 200-day and stayed above. And now we've got people freaking out because we're closing underneath, right? So yes, that's a reason to be bearish. But I think what I do as far as TA, as far as analysis, is I take it day by day, I take it week by week, I take it level by level. I think that's the easiest thing to do. Don't freak out about 3K until we hit under 6K. Don't even freak out about 6K until we hit under 7K.
Well, Alessio Rastani came out with a video saying we could go to 3K, and I feel like that injected a little bit of FUD. You know, people have been talking about that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, it's not. I think he's fine. And I think, just like anybody else, he has a YouTube channel. And again, that gets viewers, right? And so that sensationalism gets viewers. Mm-hmm. And I know that everybody uses it a little bit. It's fun, though. It's fun. Talking about 3K and where it could hit is fun. But I think bottom line, let's take it level by level. And if you can see right here, what I have, if I were to take this off, naturally just have, this is the Bitstamp chart. On the right, I have the volume profile. And so again, what the volume profile shows is the amount of volume per price, okay? And so basically the greenish is buy volume and the black is sell volume, right? And so, but what this also means is that it acts as support and resistance. There's supply and demand here. Now, the thing about TA, and a lot of people ask about this, but they question TA, and I have to be on the spectrum that a little bit of TA is self-fulfilling, okay? And what does that mean? Well, the reason why price bounces at these levels is because people think it's going to bounce at those levels, even big players, and they put their buys there. Okay. And so naturally, could this push down to the point to where this breaks? Yes, it can, but very likely not. TA, again, it's about probability. It's not about certainty. And so all we can do is use TA in order to see what probability there is for bounces.
Right. Well, unfortunately, like I said, we were saying earlier, it only tells you where we've been, not where we're going. So,
right.
That's the thing. Everybody says, and the funny thing, I do get comments, they're like, well, you say we could go up to this and we could go down to that. And I'm like, well, yes, there's probabilities. I mean, anyone speaking in, absolute certainties right now, I wouldn't listen to that person, because I don't believe anybody knows with 100% conviction which way this market is going to go tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, long term, I'm bullish as hell. Long term.
Yeah. And I think you should be. Again, because if you look at the logarithmic chart and go scale out, I mean, you just look at Bitcoin and just kind of look what it's doing. I mean, it continues to make new highs. And I'm the guy who thinks, I'm sure people already want to know what I think where it's going to go. And I think I've already said on Twitter that I think it's a big range, but it's kind of a safe range. I think it hits between 65,000 to 85,000 in the next couple of years during the peak high. I don't know when that's going to be, right? Mm-hmm. But what I do know is that each peak high has been, as far as the return of investment from the bottom to the next peak high, I think it's been about 20% less each market cycle. And that 20% less this time would bring it to around 65,000. Mm-hmm. And so I will be taking profit along the way, and I think that what we need to look at before then, right, is where is it going to drop at? Because we all want to accumulate more Bitcoin. We all want to accumulate more crypto. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this chart. So right now, we're kind of sticking at this demand zone right here, right? And so I've got this on the daily chart. Why is this as support? Because if you look right here, This was a solid demand zone. Okay, so a lot of buying and selling has happened here. So naturally, this is going to act as support. And look what's happening. It's wicking down below that, meaning that people are buying it up. So people are interested right here on the daily chart. What's going to happen? Well, it's ranging. It's between these two support zones. I think that it can actually hit up to around this next level, 75.50. For me to be bullish, K-Dub, it's got to hit and break above this support flipped resistance level. Okay. And so people are saying, what is it going to take to be bullish? I think 87.50, closing above it, at least on the 4 hour, if not the day. That's where I want it to hit. And if it hits there, more than likely, I'm going to long and I'm going to hold on to that long. Okay. And so why am I going to hold on to that long? Because we have a key resistance level right here. It took weeks and months for price to break below this level. Well, if you look at the chart, which is really cool, as you've already looked at it, let's go to the weekly, right? This looks almost exactly like the bear market. And what happened after the bear market? We capitulated down, we went sideways, maybe we go sideways. And what happened? We just blew right past the prior resistance, right? So we blew through it like butter, cut through it like butter, whatever the saying is. And so I think the same thing can happen here. I think that even if we do drop down, and I'll talk about where I think the bottom could be, but I think when we come back up, we could blow right through this. And so I'm basically, I want in before 8,750 because I think that it can, from there, it can just shred the resistance.
So do you think that let's just round it to like 8.8. You think that that's essentially like once we're through there, it's kind of like blue skies, let's go again? Or do you think we still need to put in sort of like a higher high just to one of these wicks that got hit on the resistance, to sort of confirm that?
I think if it gets, let me put the levels back. And again, levels are probably the safest thing. The issue with a lot of indicators, right, is that they're lagging. Price is the only thing that's not lagging. And so that's why horizontal resistance, these kind of my bread and butter, right? Horizontal resistance, support and resistance, as well as the volume profile as well. I think that if it hits above this, it's very likely that it stays. If it doesn't stay, I want to close, right? I want at least a 4 hour close above this. I'm going to put a stop loss, but I am going to make sure to put a long here. So if you're a trader, then that's a great place to long, right? I'm not going to long before that because that's resistance. You don't long at resistance. You wait until resistance breaks. Usually, KW, what happens is that price breaks above, it comes back down to hit that. And if that resistance holds a support again, then I know that it's very likely that it's going to keep going. I also want to look at the volume. If price goes up here and the volume just stinks, right? If there's no really green volume, then that could be an issue. But if we do see volume step in, and whenever we see green volume that rises with price, that's bullish. Okay. Right. So watch the volume, specifically probably on the 4 hour chart. I like to use the 4 hour chart more than the day because that's the intraday trade. Make sure that support holds. And if that holds, I'm going to long there. Watch this key resistance area that took so long to break. I think that we can bust right through it. And after that, I just want to kind of keep it there because if we look at these above levels, there's not really any use to look in there yet. Just kind of like down at 3K, right? So you mentioned there's a 3K remark. And then you mentioned earlier, I feel like before
he was mentioning the almost comparing what we just went through with the whole euphoria. The chart where it shows the sentiment, and then it's like denial, capitulation, all that stuff.
Right.
So essentially, he's already putting us into that. But I mean, I think that might be putting the carriage ahead of the horse. I don't know. I mean, we just got out of a year-long bear market. I mean, I don't think this was the rally. Do you?
Right. No, I don't think that it is. And like I said, we've seen a 75% pullback before. I don't think it's going to hit 75. Like I said, I do think the lowest that we're going to hit, my opinion, is going to be around this huge level right here, this huge demand zone. Okay. So lots of support and resistance right here. Resistance underneath, but support because a lot of supply and demand. And so what I actually think is going to happen, I think that this could bounce. It could hit off 87.50, not close above, and then come back down. I essentially think this is going to take a while. I don't think this is going to run back up. But I noticed here that I put the next area, right? If we break below mid to high 7,000s, I think that we're going to hit 7,000 to 7,200. And I think that this area is going to bounce hard. Why do I think that? If I go and I put on the Fibonacci retracement, okay, so basically the Fibonacci numbers, if you know about that, you can see the percent retracement. Fibonacci numbers are a huge area for bots and algos to buy. And so big players will use these a lot of times. If you look right here, notice that as we went down, we came up and we hit around the 618, right? We hit that area. And what happened? Oh, we used 3.8, the 382, excuse me, as support, came back up and came back down. And again, if we stay below this 200-day moving average, I can see us hitting this 7,000 area, which not only acts as support for the Fibonacci, but if you look as well, there's also a daily support level. So there's confluence, right? Meaning that there's multiple indicators that show that this is going to be a heavy support zone. And so I think that it bounces here prior to it gets here. A lot of people are waiting here. I think they're going to be front run. And then it's going to bounce back. From there, I don't know. I think that this could be a potential bottom, but I certainly don't think that it goes below this area as far as 6,100.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the things I was saying on the channel too, and this is just my opinion, I feel like maybe we ran up a little bit too fast this time, because if you look at a lot of the run-ups in the past, they weren't as parabolic at this stage in the cycle. And I kind of think to myself, if you look at the halving and you realize that we've never put in a new all-time high before the halving event, and at the rate that we were trying to pump up, people were looking at levels of, 20K this year, maybe even like 46. I was hearing like a lot of big numbers. So do you think that, history has to necessarily repeat itself? Because at some point, you're going to have so much new like players in the game. You have all these different custodial solutions, you have backed. It's just it's a very different market than it was 2 years ago. So I think like continuing to just constantly look at how things played out in the past might not work moving forward, because I just feel like the space is so different now. Plus, even the sentiment with the altcoins, look at the dominance that we had I think at one point, I don't know the actual top, according to CoinMarketCap, it was like 860 billion, I think we hit, or 880 at one point. But at that time, the Bitcoin dominance was substantially lower, which means that most of that was in the altcoins. But now you're seeing the dominance so high. So I just feel like everything about the market feels so different this time around. I mean, how do you feel about it,
Yeah, I think this is what we have, right? So again, if I'm just going to hit the monthly chart and kind of go out, we've got how many market cycles do we have, right? We've got basically like 3 market cycles, okay? So we don't have a huge sample size when it comes down to that. So not only do we not have a huge sample size, but also too, retail investors really weren't in until the last bull run. And so we really don't have a sample size of 1 with retail investors getting in and people really being interested in it, really hitting mainstream news. And so we've got this 1 sample size. And when it comes down to it, I think that yes, history does tend to somewhat rhyme, right? But I don't think that it's exactly the same. I think when it comes down to it, you're right on the moving averages. What you see with the moving averages is, again, it's a moving average for a reason, because whenever price blows above it, it just shows you how it's basically running a little too quick, right? And so with always, why are moving averages helpful is because price always tends to return to the mean, right? And so especially with the 20-day moving average, notice that most of the 50, I think. But anyways, we're let's see here, 100, 200. I don't even know what moving averages I have on here. But point being, right, price goes back and it tends to go back to the mean. And so that's what we're seeing happening right now. And I think that you've got some other predictors as far as price. What is it? Is it Mayer? He's got the Mayer multiple.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's also the stock to flow.
Right.
And what's actually interesting is if you actually look at all these charts right now, even the things that Willy Woo does with Woodbull and all that, it's actually kind of funny how you notice that we kind of are where we're supposed to be, essentially, like as far as market flow. It's just that when you're in the moment and you're having that euphoric run up to 14K, you kind of don't realize the day to day that, like, when you zoom out, like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand here.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, nothing goes straight up. And I think we learned that really, really the hard way at the end of 2017, early 2018. So
right on. Yeah, and I think when it comes to the 200-day moving average, don't freak out about this either. Again, watch it, take it level by level. Let me go ahead and put those back on here so people don't freak out too much and zoom in. But when it comes to 200-day moving average, okay, so we've never broke the 200-day moving average before. Okay, we've hardly had any market cycles when it comes down to it. So let's go ahead and stay positive. Don't worry about it. Let's see if it bounces off 7,000, runs back up. Eventually, when it breaks above 87.50, I mean, flip long. Not financial advice, right?
Yeah,
by the way,
obviously
be smart.
not financial advice, guys.
I'm going to flip long. I'm going to put a stop loss as well. And if you're bullish on Bitcoin, what does it matter? I think that if you think that it's going to hit 65K, 100K, $1 million, okay, then if you have the money to accumulate as price goes down, then do it. Most people aren't traders. Most people don't do technical analysis. Some people think dollar cost averaging is dumb. Well, it's Bitcoin here, okay? It's asymmetric. It's non-correlated. As Pomp always says, right?
And then you hear Pomp say that all the time, right?
Right.
But do you really think it's 100% non-correlated? Because I've seen, and now Tom Lee has not exactly been the greatest at predicting anything in the past 2 years, but he does kind of sort of show how like the S&P, when it was doing well, Bitcoin kind of started to do well, and then Bitcoin trickled down into the altcoins, and now you're not seeing the S&P do well. So like, is it really truly non-correlated? Or, I mean, like,
yes and no, right?
You want it to be like, you want it to be non-correlated because that's the beautiful part. But on the other hand, it's like, you know, if we have like some geopolitical crisis or something, like, wouldn't you kind of want to see people hedge into it? Isn't that what it's supposed to be there for?
Yeah, I think bottom line, you can say yes and no to that, because when Bitcoin hit its high, the dollar was actually I think slumping at the time based on the dollar chart, right? And so when it comes to the US dollar, typically they've somewhat been inverse correlated. And so we can say not correlated, but there's an inverse correlated somewhat with the dollar. So if you look at that, go to and I won't click on it now, but go to the 2007 bull run, and then find the dollar, and then you'll notice that the dollar kind of went down in value at the time of the Bitcoin being high. So yes and no. Again, we haven't had enough sample size. We know that it's not connected directly with the S&P, because that's an index. And then a lot of times sometimes you'll see Bitcoin drop, you'll see the S&P drop. Sometimes it'll go up. It'll go up. So I haven't really necessarily found out yet. I think that there are probably some smart people out there that are working on that right now. And probably some big funds are doing that, and they kind of know the correlation. But we know that it's not tied to traditional banks. And so if banks fail, all right, that's a big phrase there. I know a lot of bullish people here are anti-bank. But if an economic crisis happens, we know that Bitcoin is probably going to be okay. Because again, it's not tied to banks, it's not tied to anything. And we know that the value, as far as that goes, using some of these measurements, we know that it has value because it is truly scarce, right? So, so asymmetric, again, it's bullish, right? Like, basically that means that it's got huge potential. To hit new highs.
So to clarify, you do not think, as some people have said, that this is just a continuation of a giant downwards triangle that we started. That's
no.
obnoxious.
Oh, I mean, you can see that. I mean, you can see where people say that, but let's just be honest here. A lot of big players, okay? If you look at this candle right here, the candle from 4,000 to 5,200, that was, from my knowledge on-chain analysis, I think from Willie Woo and some other people, that was either one or two large players stepping in. And what happened after that was you saw FOMO ensue from large players. And that's why we shot so high, is because other big players didn't want to lose in, right? So everybody else started to buy up. So you've got a lot of these people who bought down here. I certainly don't think it's going to go below 4,000. I mean, there's no way.
I don't know off the top of my head, but the 200 weekly moving average last time I checked was around 4.6 or something like that.
No way. Yeah, no way it's going below that, right?
That's nuts.
No, right? You've got support resistance right there. You've got a little bit of VPVR. And if you look at the last market on the orange right here, right? I mean, it just price stayed above it. And so it whipped down, but there's no way. You know what, guys? I tell you this, stay positive. It's Bitcoin. Take it level by level. Watch the 7,000 zone. Watch down here to 6,000. If this breaks, then my next play is the 200. And I'll probably go
Josh,
all in.
I don't think you have the 200 on for the weekly.
You know what?
I was looking at that. I was like, wait a minute. That's cutting right through the bottom of the dip. That's not.
You know what? You're right.
200 weekly.
That's the EMA, man. So that's what it is. Here
gotcha.
it is.
Yeah. Exponential.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I was like. Look at that, man. That's perfect touch right there.
So when it comes down to it, yeah, that's 4,600, right? 4,700.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what it was actually the other day.
And then of course, as time goes, moving averages move up. So we're going to notice that it's going to be confluent with the support right here. And this may even go sideways for a while. So I'm not really too worried about it. I'll probably even be in even prior to that. So,
okay. Josh, one more question before we go, because I know you got places to be, and I want to get straight to the point. A lot of people they ask about the altcoins, and I know it's been a Bitcoin market. I mean, my portfolio used to be like 95% altcoins, and now it's like 95% Bitcoin. So it's just like the totally opposite. But, you do notice that the altcoins, they don't really have that rally until Bitcoin has that major rally. And even though Bitcoin rallied up to that 14K, the altcoins really didn't follow it this time. So are you feeling differently about the alt? Will there not be an alt season this time around? Maybe people got burned so bad. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think first off, whenever you look at any type of chart, I've had Icon here. I've got Link up here. Icon I'm showing because basically Icon has been probably one of the worst performing assets. And I know Icon people, I know they're bullish on the fundamentals. The way I talk about assets and altcoins in general is that the market makes the market makes up the price, right? The market decides, it determines the price. I don't care how fundamentally solid you are. I don't care how great your tech is. If people are interested, the prices are going to go up. I think Icon's got great tech. I think there's a lot of cool things about Icon. If I turn on the Bitcoin chart too, it's ugly. I mean, it's whenever you look at any of the Bitcoin charts, it basically just goes straight down and it continues to kind of slope down. Bitcoin continues to outperform it. But something like this, I'm not going to be interested in any type of charts that have just continued to go down since early 2018. Things that I am interested in that have actually performed well in 2019. Link, of course, everybody seems to be bullish on Link. What I have here actually are two areas that I'm looking at as far as support right now, where you're going to find around 150 to 160. But if Bitcoin does drop to 7,000, even below 7,000, I'm going to be looking to buy a Link between $1 to $1.20, something like that, right? I do see some major support areas right here. I do think that Link can do well. It's one of the few that I think can do well. I also think that Raven has done right. It's performed pretty well as far as the value. So when you're looking at altcoin charts, why am I saying this? The whole point is look for charts that have performed decent. Don't look for charts that have went and continued to bottom down, hoping that one day it's going to do another 50 to 100x.
Right. And a lot of people just like, oh, it dipped again. It's on sale. Buy more, buy more. And it's like, man, honestly, nobody knows the bottom. And what I suggest is why don't you just wait for a confirmed bounce back? I mean, so you're going to miss the first 5, 10, 15, 20%, but at least you know that it's starting to trend the other way and you don't have to be guessing anymore. I feel more comfortable buying an altcoin, in that situation. So
100%. And of course, we know the halving is May in 2020. We know that Bitcoin continues.
Might be sooner if with the miners and the hash rate and all that. Did you see, we were putting out blocks like 7.5 minutes for like a week.
Yeah. So I mean, when it comes down to that, in the past, Bitcoin has even dropped price and it's went sideways after the last two halvings. And if we get there beforehand. I think based on history, again, it's not very many. We've got a small sample size. We could be going sideways or ranging here, and that could actually be good for altcoins. And so, as you mentioned, will we have an alt season? Perhaps. I think that the alt season in 2017 was driven primarily by retail, and so a lot of people were getting in, right?
And they didn't know what they were buying.
They didn't know what they were market buying.
What the hell they were buying?
Yeah,
it was just like this is the future. This is going to be a household name. I'm buying all of it. It's
right?
Like, okay.
Trump coin, Jesus coin. You had like all these coins, college coin. Yep. College coin was going to be the next coin to take over campuses, right? And I remember that thing did like a 5x in a day or something like. I just was looking at these just weird altcoins that were just performing.
The problem though, which is what you said originally, which is what I liked in the very beginning, is that lack of liquidity and how easy it is because the spread is so thin. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I'll tell you from experience, I'm not going to say the altcoin because I really don't think it even matters at this point, but I bought a large bag of an altcoin back in the day. It did really, really well. I held it for a bit too long, started getting a little bit worried, and was like, I need to sell this before I, lose money. Tried to sell it on all these different exchanges. And it was like, I was the whale. And I didn't even have that much of it. But I literally did not sell it without crashing it, or I'll just sit there all day and just keep putting in little sell orders. It's just such a pain in the ass. And, that's what I try to tell people. Just be careful when you go, you put half your portfolio in on a speculative altcoin, and then, like 6 months later, you try to sell it and you can't.
Right.
You're going to sell it for massive slippage, and you're going to lose a lot of the gains. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So be careful with altcoins. Again, a lot of these exchanges don't have very good liquidity as far as a lot of the altcoins. We know that USA got banned off Binance. And so now a lot of people on the USA are trying to look for these altcoin. I think they're going to KuCoin.
To be honest with you, I think that's why a lot of people began to get somewhat interested in the derivatives, even though, technically the whole Bybit, whatever. But, the thing is if they really didn't want it, I don't even know what I should or shouldn't say on here, but essentially, let me just put it this way. If you go to Nash.io and you try using a VPN, it says, hey, we know you're using a VPN, please turn it off. And then when you do, it goes, hey, you're in a jurisdiction that we don't allow. That doesn't happen on other sites. So that's all I'm saying. They're clearly not that concerned about it.
Right. Well, the thing about even derivatives too, I think that derivatives is a great way to decrease risk. And again, if you're long Bitcoin and say you have a Bitcoin, right, and you want to bet long on it, you can put half a Bitcoin or a quarter of a Bitcoin on Bybit or any derivatives exchange. And then you can do Forex leverage, which is, if you put a quarter of a Bitcoin and then you do Forex, that ends up being a whole Bitcoin. And so initially, if you get liquidated or you lose, which you shouldn't get liquidated, it's quite a drop, right?
Yeah,
it's like
if you're getting liquidated, you're definitely over leveraged.
Yeah.
Because there's no excuse for it with proper stop losses. Yes, there's losses that can incur, but you should not be losing 100% of your entire trade. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I think derivatives, it decreases risk. And I think that it's a great way to stack more Bitcoin while decreasing risk of your own Bitcoin because you're using margins.
I also think too, for people that are beginners, I was a beginner 2 years ago. I never cared about stocks. Bitcoin just was what really drew me to the space. And, after looking at this for 2 years, you realize that if you're really looking to become like a trader, you really should just focus on not financial advice, but Bitcoin, man. It's the biggest, it's got the most liquidity. Everyone's looking at it. I just think you master one before you start trying to, I see people leverage trading altcoins. You're out of your mind.
Right. Yeah.
Dude,
yeah. Unless you're shorting them, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of people make a career out of just being really good at one asset and trading it, and so whether that's stocks, whether that's either commodities, but a lot of people are even now doing Bitcoin. And yes, you can do altcoins, but the issue with altcoins is that the volatility of altcoins is so much more. So every time that Bitcoin goes down, and that's why I was looking at Link at the dollar mark, is because if Bitcoin goes down and it drops another 20%, we can see potentially a lot of altcoins drop 30 to 40%, right? So they're a lot more volatile. They're going to drop a lot more. You're far more likely to get liquidated on a derivatives, trading derivatives on altcoins than Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So, a 10% move on Bitcoin right now is 800. A 10% move on EOS, if it's $4, it's 40 cents, right? So, it doesn't take a big move to get you liquidated. So you have to be careful with that. But I do think that derivatives, again, it's a smart play. I feel like people should learn how to margin trade. You can find a lot of stuff. I think you have a video up. I've made a video on margin trading. You can find a lot of free resources out there. So I think also too, Shill here, Kennering Clark, you've shared his info.
Yeah.
The guy's brilliant, probably the smartest trader I know in crypto, and I know you guys are probably like, that's a far fetch, but the guy has so much knowledge in traditional assets as well as crypto. He teaches a lot of great things, and we even have a site called Block Roots. Again, people want to check it out. It's just kind of us teaching about trading and stuff like that.
Definitely. Actually, while you're shilling, I noticed you have LVL. Just kidding. But you have LVL pulled up now. Is it LVL or level? How do you say it?
It's level, but you can say LVL.
So I actually recently got on the list for this. By the way, guys, this isn't like sponsored or anything like that. But Josh, do you want to just real quick before we wrap it up, maybe just let them know what this is, what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah. So Level basically is that it's a crypto exchange, but we like to say that it's the future of money. And so where Level is starting is it's starting at crypto exchanges. And so you're going to notice on the homepage that it says buy and sell crypto as much as you want for $9 a month. And so where are we getting at this $9 a month? Why should I have to pay to buy and sell crypto. That's because any type of exchange out there, Binance, Coinbase, Gemini, etc., they use a lot of fees. And so what people don't know is that fees really add up. And so
yes, they do.
a lot of these Coinbase and Gemini exchanges, they actually exploit new people. They make it easy for you to market buy. Again, love Gemini, love Coinbase.
They also give you the worst possible price. Like
they
every
do.
single time.
Right. And so that's even the same thing with like the Cash App, right? You just market buy something and you're paying more for it. You don't pay a fee, they say, but you end up paying more for it because you're paying at a higher price.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people are exploited by fees. A lot of people don't just realize how much hundreds of dollars they actually would spend a year in fees. And so what Level is doing is having a $9 membership that allows you to buy and sell as much crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash right now for $9.
And where do you guys pull your where do you guys pull your prices from, though? Specifically,
you know what? Let me see here. I'll have to get back to you on that. We actually use, I think, Masari.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a pretty good one.
I think bottom line, as far as that goes, I think it's Masari. But it is, as far as where we keep our Bitcoin as well too, right? People ask about that, is through BitGo, which is probably the number one custody as far as the gold standard in keeping hot wallets. And so a lot of people worry about being hacked, but again, we keep everything through BitGo.
Which, regardless of safety, I still don't suggest people keep their money on hot. I don't care how safe they say they are. You know, get a freaking ledger, man. That's why every day I say it. You know, it's not. It's sort of a gimmick, but it is because I do believe you should really own your own private keys and have it on a cold storage if you're not trading. Why are you going to leave it there if you're not trading? You know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Get a hard wallet, get a ledger. I think you were giving some ledgers out.
Yeah, I give them away every Monday. It's actually fun. No, this is what I do. I'll tell you straight up. So people use my link and they buy ledgers, right? And I take the money that I make from my affiliate commissions and buy actual ledgers and give them away. So it's like
cool.
Yeah, it's like a little, just like a fun thing we do, you know? So
yeah, so get a ledger. You can store your Bitcoin on that, but buy and sell as much as you want, $9 a month. We are going to come out with a debit and checking. And I say we, because I am an advisor on here, along with, you can go down and you can look at the team just to show you some really prominent names. This is the main team: Chris, Courtney, and Brandon, the Willie Woo, Jimmy Song. These are guys who, of course, they really don't promote anything. And why I say they don't promote anything is they're very particular. They're very product and service driven. They're very bullish on Bitcoin. They're very trustworthy names, and they're behind the foundation of this product as well. And so I'm on here along with some of these other members. And why I share that again is because, again, we're all here because we know that a lot of exchanges exploit people. We know that people are paying way too much in fees, and it's too hard to get crypto, to buy crypto. If you want to buy crypto, of course, if you want to go on Coinbase, you can buy it now, but you have to keep your Bitcoin on the exchange for a long time. In 2020, in Q1, we're going to have a debit and checking account that allows you to basically just get rid of your Wells Fargo account. You can actually put your check from work in here. You can buy and sell crypto.
Cool, man.
Yeah, you can buy and sell crypto as much as you want. $9, no wire fees. Okay, if I want to wire money like today to Coinbase or Gemini, I got to pay $30 wire. You can wire money from Level once we have that ability with fiat on-ramp as well for $0. Buy and sell as much as you want. If you go and market buy a Bitcoin at 10K, you're going to be paying $150 to $200 on Coinbase or Gemini.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
So
I mean, I'm still on the waiting list. I'm New York, so you know, New York is like literally the last to get anything. You know, we got to go through. Everyone's got to get a bit license, and then I mean, even just with the Coinbase app, I can't trade not even half the coins that anyone else can. I can't buy them at least.
Right? So
it's crazy.
100%. Yeah. So we're not in New York yet. We're in the United States. We're in Europe. We're going to be getting to New York. We're going to be getting to a lot of states soon.
Cool.
We're in Europe right now. Anybody can sign up. So this is the thing. Okay. I just want to tell everybody really fast.
Yeah. I'm
super passionate about it, as you can tell.
Yeah, dude, like I said, this isn't sponsored. This is just something that I thought was cool. Like just cutting the fees out. That's crazy.
Right. So 100%, you can go here. And I even gave, K-Dub his own link, because it's only by invitation only right now. Right. Because again, we're building up to this fiat on-ramp. We're slowly adding people to it. So it's invitation only. So you need to go to level.co/zombie. And what you're going to notice is you're going to notice the screen turn pink, and you know that you're there. And then you can actually, let me log out here, but you can actually hit sign up, and then you can sign up through Zombie's account, through K-Dub's account, through dash Zombie. But with that said, it's only by invitation only. So you have to do that, but you don't pay anything right now. You have to deposit money. And then that's how we make our fees. We actually take it out of the, whether it's Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever you deposit, and eventually dollars, right? It's going to be $9 a month. And that's how we take that. But in the end, you end up saving a ton of money. You don't have to pay a ton of fees. Again, Coinbase, Gemini, I feel like they exploit people. And again, this is leveling the playing field.
Well, it's all about the fees. That's why they don't care. Right. They don't care because they make fees either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, you don't see the, you didn't see Binance freaking out in the bear market. It's not like people weren't buying and selling. It's not like they weren't still making their cut. So,
that's their business model, right? And so you're never going to see Coinbase or Gemini or anybody go feeless. And it's what people always say, well, what if Coinbase goes feeless? Well, they can't. That's their business model. That's how they make their money. I think the markup's like 90 to 100%. Whatever they make.
Yeah, no, I mean, just right now, anybody watching right now, like, just go, don't actually confirm the order, but go on your Coinbase and set up the order up to the very last step right before you hit the confirm button, and then really quick check the price on live, and it'll be like $60 higher. It's like, where did they get that from? And like you said, they're not doing fees, but everything is marked up. So absolutely, man. Josh, we've been talking for quite some time on this channel. I definitely got to get this out. The price could be totally different by the time we put this video out. So I just wanted to say thanks for stopping by, man. Was there anything else you kind of wanted to sort of leave everyone with before we get out of here?
No, I think that people just don't freak out about the price. That's underneath the 200-day moving average. Watch 7,000, watch for it to bounce there. Watch 6,000. If it bounces there, that's great. Definitely don't think it's going underneath the 200 weekly. And once it crosses over 87.50, I mean, I'm going long there. Hopefully volume supports that, but bullish on Bitcoin. And I'm excited for the next few months.
All right, dude. Sounds good. Thank you so much. So for everybody out there, by the way, if you don't know who Josh Rager is by now, I mean, we pretty much mention him once or twice a week usually, but definitely check him out on Twitter. So thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, K-Dub. Appreciate it.
So if you stuck it out all the way to the end, man, you are a trooper, but that was a really fun interview. I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk with Josh. I hope you found some value out of that. Definitely go check him out on Twitter if you haven't already. But speaking about level, essentially, you can see right here, this is the screen if you go to sign up, but it is invite only. So if you guys do want to check it out, I don't get like a commission or anything like this. It's just if you want, it's an invite only. You basically just go to lvl.co/zombie and then it'll turn pink. You could sign up and check it out. I mean, I'm signed up. I'm on the waiting list. I'm in New York, but we will see how that goes moving forward. And one more thing before we go, I do have to remind everyone that today is the absolute last day for the Bybit promotion. Deposit 0.2 Bitcoin, get 110. And if you do also hit some other requirements that they have for some trading, you can get an extra $200 if you want. But I just want to let you guys know that it is the last day for that. Now, we do have a Ledger Nano S to give away. So let me go over here. We had 7 videos. So let me put in 7, generate. Okay, number 2. So that is Tuesday's video. All right. Backed Bitcoin sell-off, most important Bitcoin level to watch. That was actually a pretty popular video, this one. So let me just plug that in over here to the, generator. See what we got. Yeah, like I said, guys, this was a pretty popular video that we had put out. 697 unique comments. All right, drum roll, please, for the Ledger Nano S. Darth Palpatine. Okay, so you look like one of those people that like try to get first, second, third, right? Well, you got third and you also got the Ledger. So, wow, congratulations. Very lucky on that one. If you are interested, you want it, you know what to do.